There's never been a better time than now to stop what you're doing and tune in to Straight Up, TAB Radio's weekly podcast that will guide you through the difficult journey that is the punt. Whether it be racing or sport, the Straight Up team has your back. Now, from the studios of TAB Radio, welcome to Straight Up.
The Pinnacles are here, and so's Rylie Morgan. A very good afternoon.
Better for seeing you, Mart. How are you?
I've got to say, you won the award there on last Saturday. You look resplendent.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I was doing my best.
Just strolled into the octagon and I said, have a look at the man.
Day one.
Had
to turn
Lit it up.
Had to turn it on. I actually really enjoyed being out there in the hut last week. It was a terrific first day of the carnival, and hopefully only gets bigger and better this weekend.
Oh, that is for sure, and we've got a terrific meeting too coming our way. Can't wait for McGuane to get here. We can go through that and pull this meeting apart. But first off, we've got Mick McGuane, then Annabel Neasham, and then it'll be McGuane and Straight Up and look at, without any Narrogin. That's where you were heading today.
I was supposed to be there.
You reckon you haven't
gin.
saved my bacon? I've gone 10 events, do 4. What? And within about 20 minutes of being told I was doing the form, Narrogin was off. Because I was looking at Seb, I was going, you're not going to help me one bit, Seb.
You don't think you were stoked when you got that text message from me yesterday?
Let's hear from Mick McGuane. He's up next, day one of the draft last night.
McGuane gets past Brown. They're lifting the pies. They can sense it. McGuane's had 5 bounces. Nearly get another one. Round he goes. In he goes to an open goal. Mickey McGuane, goal of the year.
Mick McGuane joins us on Straight Up for this AFL preview thanks to Dankz Furniture.
You won't see better than that.
With 6 local stores in the metro area, there's one near you.
Hey, Riles, I've got to say, I never tire of listening to that commentary. So imagine how Mick must feel. G'day, Mick.
Pretty old and pretty tired, to be honest, mate. How are you?
I'm pretty good, mate. It must bring back very good memories every Thursday when you join us.
No, it's great memories, of course. I wish you could turn the clock back and revisit what these young boys went through last night, sort of to get your name read out for public consumption, but also to be aligned to an AFL club is what you work extremely hard for, but also you dream about when you're a young man. And to get that dream to turn into reality is something to behold.
Just before we get into the draft, I went back and watched that replay again of that goal, and gee, there's a very young Nathan Buckley there saying, what about me? Moving pitches, you burnt him.
Well, go back 2 minutes earlier, he burnt me. He wasn't going to get one in return, I can tell you that much. We had a principle at Collingwood to give a forward handball. Bucks totally ignored that and kicked one for about 55, and I think I might have been vice-captain back then. He got a nice mouthful as we went back to the centre circle. I said, well, good for the goose, it's good for the gander.
wasn't his strong point throughout the course of his career, Bucks, the handball, was it, Mick?
No, he was like Kevin Bartlett, couldn't spell handball.
No, but in that grand final, there was a replay of the grand final where Kevin, when did he kick 8 or something? He did handball one in that grand final.
Yeah, to himself, along the ground, I reckon. Yeah, KB, I think he tore Stan Magro and Kevin Morris inside out a few times. That was in the 1980, wasn't it? Grand final.
It was.
One of those great memories. I think I was about 13 or 14 years of age, and I went to a mate's place, and he was mad Essendon, and he didn't really want to watch the granny, and I wanted to watch it because I was mad Collingwood. And by quarter time, I just went into the paddocks, and we started going on the tractors and the motorbikes, and didn't want to revisit the game because I knew I'd be in a very ordinary mood, which I was when I was a kid when Collingwood got beat.
Now, speaking of good memories, Mick, I'm sure you do remember everything about the moments and the night you were drafted many moons ago. What were your key takeaways from the first round of the draft that unfolded last night?
Oh, it was just intriguing to sit back and observe what club needed what type of player and then who they selected. And over here, there was probably word that Layla was going to be the first pick for a period of time. But I've always sort of been concerned, I don't know what you guys think, when you sort of don't see the kids put themselves up for, you know, the running side of the combine, you sort of say, are they hiding something?
Mm-hmm.
And he certainly hasn't done what a Dustin Martin did in the combine when I think Dusty, by memory, who they're comparing him to, I might say for your listeners over here, he ran about 14 as a beep test, and that to me sort of signified that Dusty could probably elevate himself from a young boy out of Castlemaine into that TAC Cup system back then, run well, go from a forward who could hit the scoreboard to a midfielder over time, which we've witnessed over the last decade. He was absolutely outstanding at. But this young man's had a few injuries, but they love what he does when he's got the footy. Does he get it enough? That was probably the debate, and that was a discussion around, will he be number one? Do we know he can run? How powerful is he? How often can he run? What repeat efforts does he provide? But he's got the attributes when the ball's in his hand. He's ferocious in the contest. But all these unknown sort of asterisks against his name was probably a little bit of a concern, but now we know he's number one and he'll get to work, and Richmond will give him every opportunity to be the best version of himself when he gets into their system.
We might just stick with Richmond, Mick, given they are the next team heading into next year we're going to have a look at, and they've added some, as you've mentioned, game-breaking impact midfield strength there with Sam Layla at pick 1, and they did have a huge draft hand last night, and it was quite intriguing to see the approach they took, Mick. They took a real, I guess, spine-oriented approach in filling some key position players with their list profile. What did you make of that and how they utilised their other picks last night as well?
Yeah, it's really interesting when you look at their list management discussion, I suppose, we want to put on the table. They've lost Graham, they lost Bolton, they've lost Rioli, they've lost Baker. Dusty Martin's retired. There's 5 outstanding players. But with their draft selections, we knew they were going to concentrate on probably some inside mids, because Jacob Hopper and Tim Taranto, who they got from GWS, at that period of time they had to add depth. They went for those 2 boys. Now Taranto's had a slow start but got going the last year and a bit. And Hopper just hasn't been able to get on the park consistently enough to be that big-bodied inside midfielder that we witnessed at GWS. So with their 2 picks last night, they went for Layla, who's going to be one young boy that's going to evolve into that midfield part of the ground to be a first possession winner, not dissimilar to what a Harley Reid did for the West Coast Eagles last year. And they're also talking about young Josh Smiley, who I've watched a couple of times live, once against the Western Jets, big body, works pretty hard. He doesn't look overly quick across the ground, but he certainly covers the ground a lot, and he's not a bad kick of the footy. His decision-making is quite elite. So they're 2 boys that they're looking at to increase their midfield stocks. And then you get to Taj Houghton and you think, well, what's he going to provide? Had a really good 16s carnival, 17s disappointing, lost his way a little bit by his own admission. And then this year he really got to work, and he got to showcase his ability early in the early stage of the year, and then he didn't get continuity, which all young boys need, and any senior footballer needs for that matter. And they'd gone down that left field park. I think he was picked 12 by memory, wasn't he, last night? And I played with his dad, Trent, at Collingwood, who went to Carlton, and he was a young man that had special qualities. The game stood still around him. Mechanically not a great kick, and I reckon Taj is not dissimilar. He's a bit loose with his ball drop, but he's certainly got this explosive nature. He can find space in a phone box. He knows where the goals are. So that was a bit of a left field option at 12, and then they obviously then started to focus on their running backs, their interceptors in Luke Traynor, and obviously and then the other key forward that they got late, when a lot of people said Harry Armstrong could be a top 10 pick, but he drifted down the scale. And it'll be interesting to see what they do tonight, because the one player I think that they should look at and probably will look at before maybe West Coast get him, or even Essendon if it gets down to as low as them, is Jobe Shanahan. I thought his VFL contribution at local level over here, on one occasion when he kicked 5 at VFL level, he just looked a natural forward. You watch him play and he just understands space. His timing of his leads are good. He's competitive and he's a beautiful kick. So I think he'll be one of the early names read out tonight.
It is very interesting, and I do think he's one to really monitor heading to tonight's second night of the draft. They have lost some real experience, haven't they, Mick, the Tigers? You talk of Graham, Baker, Bolton and Rioli. 3 of their top 5 and their best and fairest are all gone, and they are in full-bore rebuild, you could say. And it is going to take some time, but they've really gone hard at this year's draft, haven't they, in terms of not splitting it up between perhaps this year and next year. They are confident that this year's draft is going to be the answer for them moving forward.
Well, they had to strike in this year's draft with the numbers they got, and more importantly, they had to strike because of who's coming into the competition in a couple of years' time. And we're talking about the Tasmanian team. So they want to stock up with the best talent available, have a look at their list demographic in relation to positional play, what do we need, what pecking order are the incumbents in, and then add talent to really put pressure on the incumbents to make sure no one's standing still in their footy club and just be thinking that they'll be gifted a game. You want internal pressure. Generally that comes from young boys who are impressionable. They want to do the right thing, get fit, stay fit, get healthy, get stronger, and understand what game sense is all about with game style and game plan. And the smart ones really elevate themselves really quickly because it's in them. They've got that innate ability to grasp the game, what the AFL landscape looks like. They understand discipline. They eat well, sleep well, hydrate well, massage well, to give themselves every chance to play the next week or train the next day. And that's the reason why the good ones elevate themselves really quickly.
Mick, a selfish one from me, Isaac Kako. Can you tell me a bit about him? And then what about all this controversy I was reading in the paper about Essendon have bungled this one up? Can you explain that to me?
Well, I don't get it. I don't understand why they've bungled it up, to be honest. Isaac Kako, I sort of coached under 16 footy against him. Electric centre forward, young player, very quick, dynamic, good goal sense, really assaults the ground ball, particularly off marking contests. His timing of crumbing the ball off contest in the air is also a natural part of the game, like a Fraser Murphy way back then, Marty, when he played at Carlton, he'd hit the back at speed. Mark Nailey was another one that comes to mind in our time. But he's got that natural forward craft attributes that only special young kids have got. Their timing and anticipation is something to sit back and observe and really applaud. And I've seen him do that probably for 3 years as a junior. Mm-hmm. He was always going to be drafted. At what number was always going to be the debate. But those that I talked to at Essendon sort of rate him highly. He's been really dedicated and disciplined to his craft, really wants to learn the game. His footy IQ probably was questionable, probably as a young boy, but you can certainly see him evolving with the greater education he's getting in the system of Essendon's academy. And it was a worthy choice last night. So I don't see it the way it's been advertised over here in the media that they've bundled it. I don't think there's an exact science to the draft. You know, I come back to James Hird. He was a mid-60 pick, and look at the player he's become. And a lot of people have opinions based on what other people tell them, and they run with it with not sitting back watching a boy or a number of boys over a period of time. They're quick to assess after one game, and every player that I've played footy with are allowed to have a bad one. And sometimes when you see the bad one, that's where their last judgment falls. So I'm not really concerned about what Essendon's done. It's a bit similar with North Melbourne last night. Not really concerned with what they've done, gave up their first-round pick next year. And even with Collingwood over the pre-season, a lot of talk over here was really negative about trying to get older statesmen into the club in Euston and also Perryman at the expense of dropping down the number in the draft this year. I think you've got to strike while the iron's hot and worry about next year when it comes.
Mart, I think the exciting part about him for you heading into next year is that with his profile, he's exactly the kind of player that you've been looking for in that front half of the ground. I know he was a bit inaccurate through the TAC Cup, whatever they call it these days. It escapes me this year. He kicked a lot of behinds and not as many goals, but he's one of those players with that profile since, I'd say, probably McDonald tipping Woody, who can come in and impact straight away from round one next year and hit the scoreboard.
Okay. It's good to hear.
And that's really valid too, because I speak to people internally at the Bombers and they're really looking for that next generation small forward, pressure forward. They tried Jai Menzies. They've had the two Davey boys. Tex Wanganeen has been moved on. That's Gavin's son. So they're naturally looking for that really smart but creative forward first and foremost. But if he doesn't find it or Essendon don't use it well going in and the opposition win that loose ball at ground level, to apply great pressure on the way out is what the expectation is of their smalls at Essendon, and that's one thing that Kako will provide. When he's got the ball in his hand, he's just got to slow down a little bit. He's just a bit of a rusher, and that's the reason why that conversion that Riley spoke about is a concern.
What about the Saints, Mick, heading to next year? Obviously, they've lost Josh Battle. They gained Jack McRae, who certainly adds some midfield depth. And last night, they've drafted Toby Travalia and Alex Toru, who I absolutely love watching his highlights package. I thought, wowee, this kid is going to be a player. And Mick, I will say I'm quite bullish with a fit Max King with their outside run they've added and their system under Ross Lyon, that St Kilda can play finals footy once again next year.
Yeah, well, their best is very good. We know they defend the ground strongly. I've still got a question mark about midfield depth. I'm not convinced they've got enough speed in there. There's a bit of lightness amongst a lot of their players. Obviously, Sebros is one of those players that they've got rid of who was an accumulator of the footy, a bit pedestrian, probably a bit of like for like with Jack Steele and other guys that they roll through there. And McRae's not dissimilar. I'm really concerned what his primary role will be.
Yeah.
He's obviously had strong discussions with Ross Lyon, and they see him as a preeminent midfielder. But that's the reason why he got spat out at the Western Bulldogs, because of his speed become a factor. We know he can get it. He's got a great nose for the footy. He just knows where it is. He just gets it. And I'm just worried about his defensive speed outside that 0 to 10 metre region. He's a great tackler once the ball's inside, and once the ball spills into open field, can he apply great pressure? Not dissimilar to a Nat Fyfe, which has been questioned over a period of time. Does he apply great pressure in defence when he has to, or does he row his own canoe? And he probably has done that until he was given a tagging role this year, which we did magnificently against Isaac Heaney. So watch this space with Jack McRae, but I think they've got the pillars in place. The two young kids that they drafted last night are exciting. Trafaglia is a very, very good player. And Taru, he was my bolter for the draft because I've seen him play with Gippsland this year against the Western Jets. And, gee, I just wrote his name in the first quarter down straight away. When I saw him fly for 2 footies, he marked both of them. He exited with composure and execution with accuracy. And then as the game wore on, he just got better and better. And I said to a couple of recruiters and player managers that day out at Williamstown, I just said, he's a kid of the future. Mark his name down. And not many people had spoken about him in the media at that stage, and I said to my son, I said, gee, that young kid down back was a good player. And he's had a lot of injuries because of the reckless approach he attacks the footy with, but you'd love them every day of the week. He reminds me a lot of Glenn Archer when he started playing as a young player at North Melbourne. And if you have a career like Glenn Archer, you're going to be a good player.
Geez, not short on confidence, is he? Listening to his interview either last night, Mart, they were talking about where we might see him play next year, whether it be back or forward, and he sort of implied that I feel I can develop and dominate either end of the ground wherever they play me. So he's backing his own ability in.
Well, confidence is not short of this younger generation, is it, Mick? They love it.
Yeah, no, they enjoy the time in the sun, and they use confidence, and this young man has got extreme confidence in his ability. I wouldn't call it arrogance. There's a distinct difference between being arrogant and confident. I think he uses confidence, and there's nothing wrong with that as long as he stays grounded, because it's okay to do stuff that he's doing in his own age group, but in 12 months' time we're going to see him against men, and that's a different kettle of fish.
Final team we'll take a look at today, the Sydney Swans. Their list enters next year in virtually the exact same position it left this year's. They've got a very heavy reliance on their midfield for mine, Mick, in terms of being able to drag them over the line. And I guess the question the Swans have to answer is how dark a psychological cloud is going to hang over them following their previous 2 performances in the big one heading into next year.
Yeah, Rylie, you've made 2 really outstanding points. Their midfield group is their go-to. We saw their capacity to hit the scoreboard. We're talking Heaney. Warner's a star. We know Goulden can play outside or inside. We know Papley can go to centre bounce to spit forward and create some chaos and confusion when he does that. But they're so reliant on those 3 or 4 players to not only win the footy but use it, and then also score on the back of them having the ability to run the lines, find pockets of space to get into to either hit the scoreboard from a set shot position close to goal. Defensively, I thought they were brittle quite often this year, and they broke down their mechanics behind the ball. I thought they're probably one real key monster defender short. They're relying on those hybrids to intercept and kickstart their offence with rebound. Nick Blakey, I'm talking about specifically. I reckon McCartan needs a little bit of help. I reckon they'll better equip, and the two McCartan boys were playing alongside each other. Unfortunately, we lost Paddy due to the concussion and his retirement. But I reckon they're just one really rock-solid key defender short. Melican done a job, but is he the answer? They've introduced a couple of young boys, Jesse Tatoli from last night. Those that don't know much about him, he's a strong-bodied sort of centre-forward player, good craft when it comes to contested marking. He's a beautiful kick for goal. And Ned Bowman's another player that they'll probably look to try and introduce into the system pretty quick. He's a jumper at the footy. He's another forward that they're trying to get into that area of the ground to add some more scoring capabilities to their front half. But he mightn't be an immediate success, but I think over time we'll see a pretty steady player.
So that three tall forward line, which went missing in the grand final, and there was always doubts about them, how long will they persevere with that?
Yeah, well, they've always had a history of going with that, haven't they? They love the McLean sort of ruck work with Brodie Grundy now that he's up there. And, Logan McDonald, new boys might be able to tell me more, but I know Darren pretty well. He's a Collingwood man and he's the father of Logan. And I know him as a midfielder as a kid. And you see him when he plays, he's got a midfield mind. And he certainly runs up the ground to create a vacuum of space for others in behind. A lot of people don't see that. He'd be disappointed with the back end of the year once again being injured. Last year he was left out of the team, of course. But he's another player that needs an immediate assistance around him. There's some games that you sort of say, wow, this kid's starting to elevate his game to a really high level. He'll get there. There's no question about that. Sydney have just got to persevere with him. Is McLean will answer alongside him. Is Joel Amati the other one that's going to be a success story? We know he grabbed the game by the scruff of the neck in Adelaide. Well done to him there. But in saying that, can he do it consistently enough? That's the question. And I suppose when you've had Buddy there for so long, who draws the footy even in low percentage spots, that's what great players do. Midfielders tend to attract to movement. They'll start to understand each other's spatial awareness, working for each other and with each other. That takes time.
They played the SCG last year incredibly well, and while their reliance on that midfield, and when they were able to really drag them over the line late in some games, they were able to come away from some games away from home with victories. But for me, they showed last year that away from home, they are very gettable if you can quell the influence of that big three through the midfield.
Yeah, you're right. You look at their team with their ball movement capabilities, the speed of their feet, their decision-making and their precise ball use, you'd think they'd be ideally suited to the MCG, for example, at the pointy end of the year. But there was a couple of times there you say to yourself, well, gee, just maybe the space isn't what they're looking for. They rely on contested ball around stoppage. When that fails, they're defending back too deep. They're relying on intercept opportunity and then counter-attacking from back to front, which is quite difficult to do against the really stringent, mean, structured defensive set-up teams like a St Kilda, who would fancy themselves, but their midfield are probably too dynamic against the lack of dynamism that's there in the St Kilda midfield group. So if you look at them from a holistic point of view, they've got some flaws in their game. They see the strengths in other parts of their conversation, and rightfully so. Their midfield group's as good as anyone going around, but I still think without the ball, they've still got some work to do.
Mick, can we get a comment about this controversy that's erupted this week regarding the North Melbourne Football Club and this video? And no Wayne Carey, no Pagan, no Schimmelbusch. It just sounds pretty weird to me.
Yeah, I looked through that vision, Marty, and sort of your mind goes into overdrive and you say to yourself, gee, I have to slow that down to see on the podium there's Dennis Pagan and there's Wayne Carey, as brief as it was a millisecond. But if you're highlighting a part of your history, disconnecting with maybe what's happened off the footy field for a moment, gee, Wayne Carey, I've seen him at his best in the 90s, and I think a lot of us applaud him, how he conducted himself on the footy field, probably one of the best players we've ever seen play the game. And to have one or two of his marks running against the flight, which were Carey-esque, we gravitate to a Jonathan Brown when he does it, Nick Riewoldt when he did that mark up at the SCG. Some of the great players over there in the West that you West Australians have seen, whether it be Pavlich, whether it be back in our day, Sumich sometimes got up to get back in. We just applauded blokes like that from afar over here. And for Wayne Carey to be more or less snubbed, I thought it was just an indictment on the footy club to not recognise their best ever. And then even Wayne Schimmelbusch was another one who when I was growing up as a kid, I used to travel down with my dad to watch Collingwood and see Ricky Barham on one wing be matched up against Wayne Schimmelbusch, and then you see the grace and the pure skill of Keith Gregg on the other side. They're the type of players I would have thought brings people to the discussion of AFL footy, particularly if you're a barracking for that club and you sort of go back in time, because I'm a big believer in history.
Yep.
And if you can condition the younger generation about the players that made this club great years gone by, that's what discussion and talking points are all about.
From a WA point of view, you just pricked my memory there. Those clashes between Djakovic and Carey were legendary.
Yeah.
Weren't they?
Oh, we'd stand still. And, we when it was televised over here and those two games, those two players were going head-to-head. It was not dissimilar to many, many years ago, whether it be McClure versus Picken. You'd see Van der Haar versus Knights. Those guys are just, you gravitate to the winners and you just watch the highlight reel of both those guys jumping at the footy, one would outmark another. And the Carey and Djakovic battles, I've got great respect for Glenn, what a player he was. Really good citizen, good man, great to play against in state footy. And then you come up against Wayne Carey, you can see him turn a game, if allowed, in the space of 10 minutes. And when those two blokes went head-to-head, their pride got pricked and one wanted to outdo the other. And it would have been great to sit back and observe every time they played in the flesh live. We saw it at times on the highlight reel or the replay, but it was just great to watch. Two great players going against each other was fantastic, and that's what the game needs.
Now, Mick, we love catching up and chatting footy with you each and every Thursday, courtesy of Dankz Furniture, the comfort of home. Only a couple more teams to get through next week, Mart, with West Coast and the Western Bulldogs to round out our look at each team's list profile heading into next season. But we also love getting a few trots tips off you, Mick, each and every Thursday. The first at Ballarat, not far away, only 90 seconds from getting underway tonight. Do we have any best bets or any value plays at the trots at Ballarat this evening?
He's a Ballarat specialist.
Yeah, well, I reckon if race one hasn't raced, which you said it's not,
No.
I reckon number 6 might be a really good value play on an each-way basis. That's Picture Us Rolling. A bit of speed off the front line, but Jason Lee, as we know, can be an aggressive driver. The favourite will be number 7, Alex Ashford. It'll go back at the start, but on an each-way basis, I reckon Picture Us Rolling is clearly an each-way play, so 6 and 7 in race 1. I reckon in race 2, number 7 will be very hard to beat, thanks to the Murray for Matty Craven. So hoping early on in the night his horses turn up and can race really well. I think it's going to be very hard to beat. On an each-way basis, it'll be around $5 or $6. The big query there is number 5, who can spear the gate and probably lead. But if Banks of Murray comes out, which it can, Mick Stanley might hand up to it. And my value plays in race 6 on the program, fellas, number 2, Scar. Now, this trotter's got enormous amount of ability. They put up $21, come into $17 pretty quickly. It'll be around the $15 or
$15,
probably $12 mark. Yeah, around race time. If it doesn't make a mistake, it'll outrun its odds on an each-way basis, clearly.
Ooh.
That's race 6, number 2, Scar.
Okay, so race 1, number 6, get your bets on punters. There are Mobile Barra just getting into position now. Race 2, number 7, and race 6, number 2. They are for Mick McGuane, of course, here for Dankz Furniture. 6 great locations: Osborne Park, Joondalup, Willerton, Port Kennedy, Midland and Mandurah. Family owned and run for 50 years. Clayton and Michael Arnold are keen supporters of the racing industry here in WA. Go to danks.com.au. Enjoy the night at the draft tonight. We'll do it again next week, Mick.
No worries, fellas. Enjoy, Marty. Catch you later, Riley.
Thanks, Mick.
Welcome back to Straight Up. 29 minutes away from 4 o'clock. Marty Young Rylie Morgan with you. And joining us is Annabel Neasham. A very good evening to you, Annabel, and thanks for giving us your time.
No problem at all. Thanks for having me on.
No, it's our pleasure to have you, Annabel. Obviously, Port Lockroy heads to the Railway Stakes this weekend. How have the reports been on how he's handled the week here in Perth in the build-up?
Yeah, he's a very straightforward horse, so unsurprisingly, he's settled in really well. Clint has sit on him on Tuesday morning, and he worked nicely and went to the beach on Wednesday, and he's pretty deep into a prep now, and he's a very clean-winded horse. So we haven't had to do a whole lot with him this week, but really looking forward to Saturday with him.
You say deep into a prep. He's only had the 3 runs and a trial, but he did winter up in Brisbane, but he would be showing no signs of getting towards the end of it, surely?
No, absolutely not. When I say deep into a prep, he's had 3. He's going to be 4th up, so he's fit. And he only had a very short break between Brisbane and Sydney. But he's a lovely horse. He's got a light weight. The gait probably suits him, and he's sort of always promised to win a nice race. Whether that's a Group 1, I don't know. But I thought his run in the Golden Eagle was phenomenal, because he was only rated 86 there. We actually didn't think he'd get a run, and I think the next highest rated horse was 98, and it was a level weights race, and we probably messed up his handicap a bit, because he's jumped up a fair few points for running 6, but he finished within 2 lengths of the winner, and I think another, that was 1,500, another 100 metres, and he probably finishes even closer. So up to the mile is going to be a big tick for him as well. So
was that a surprise, that performance in the Golden Eagle, for him to finish that close?
No, it wasn't. And actually, we'd hoped to try and run top 3 in the Silver Eagle to get him into the Golden Eagle, and when he didn't, he was another, sort of flashing light storming home in that race, but didn't manage to qualify. So we actually didn't think he'd get into that race, and I was disappointed, because I thought he'd run really well, and it was a bit of a surprise he got into the field, and but the result wasn't a surprise at all. And last preparation, he just had so many bad barriers. He'd nearly always draw the outside gate. We scratched him quite a few times, and then we ended up having to run him because we'd scratched him so many times from bad gates, and probably cost him a couple of races, the draws. But he's a really honest horse, and he likes firm ground. So, I know he's sort of longish in the market, but I genuinely think he's a top 3 chance on Saturday.
He brings such an interesting profile to the race, doesn't he, Marty? And his run in the Golden Eagle was outstanding, but he's still pretty lightly raced, Annabel. He's only won a maiden and a ratings race over there in Sydney in his career to date, which some are going to have as a knock on him heading to this weekend, as it's certainly a big step up on that. But in his favour, Annabel, and you go back through previous years, the form out of the Golden Eagle always stands up wherever you go.
Yeah, it does. I think there were 8 individual Group 1 winners in the Golden Eagle this year. It was probably, I would have thought, the deepest race they've had to date. And I suppose I'm just hoping that the form does stack up. He went across the line, pretty much with, I know she was unlucky, but pretty much with Steffi Magnetica. She would have finished closer, of course, if she'd had a bit more luck. But she then went and franked that form by going very close in the Champions Mile. So, as you say, good form race. And look, he's going to have to improve again. But I just knowing the horse and knowing how unlucky he's been with barriers and what have you, I just think he can run a lot better than his odds are probably suggesting on Saturday. And they tell me it's a race where the lightweights have a very good record as well.
They certainly have, particularly in the last decade. So I think you've got to go back to Lucky Gray. Every other horse has carried 53 or 53.5 since then. So that would be the case. But this is a stronger railway this year. I think the horses coming across from the east, yours included, are horses coming out of very good races, not too deep into a prep and in good form. And the locals here are in good form as well. So this is a good, strong railway this year. You're bringing, Lady Laguna is across for the Winterbottom next start. Did the straight track get her last start at Flemington?
I hope that's what it was, because she's never really ran a bad race, but she just over-raced the whole way down the straight. So I actually think she finished off all right, all things considered. But hopefully back around the bend, J-Mac on, we should be able to see her bounce back. And look, obviously Overpass is going to be hard to beat, but she's a Group 1 weight for age winner. Her run in the Sydney Stakes from a wide gate was very good, and then she was brilliant again in the Russell Balding, which she ran behind Bella Nipotina and Sunshine in Paris, and that's obviously really good form as well. So I'm sure that will be a race where a lot of it will come down to barriers in the Winterbottom. But yeah, she makes her own luck up on speed, and obviously we're delighted that James is coming over to ride her.
He's got a terrific record over here, 3 from 3. The favourite heading to that race next weekend, Overpass, Annabel. But you'd have to say, off your mare's run in that Sydney Stakes first up this campaign, she'd have to be a chance, especially with the jockey booking of turning the tables. She was luckless in that event from that barrier.
Yeah, she was. So, yeah, look, that's what we're hoping, and you always feel a bit more confident when you get James on, because he just makes very little mistakes. But yeah, obviously it's not these Group 1s. They're never easy to win, and always hard to go into them confident that you're going to win. But all we can do is have her as best as we can at home, and she's travelled over really well. She's actually a really well-travelled horse. She's raced in, I think it'll only be Adelaide left after Perth, because she's raced up and down the East Coast, and I'm sure that'll hold her in good stead for the trip over. And
Numerian as well thrived the last time you sent him over here to the West. Is he as good as you had him 12 months ago, do you think?
Well, I hope so. We keep trying to retire him. He's a 10-year-old now, but he won't let us. He's just so happy and fresh and well, and he just loves being in work. So whilst he's showing that enthusiasm, we'll continue to race him, and it's just one race at a time with him. But he'll go to the Northerly. He's going to have a trial on Monday, and then he'll run in the Northerly, and with a view of staying on for the race he won. Is it the Van Heeps that he won last year?
Yes.
But yeah, he's been a great old servant to us. He's a lovely horse, and Liz, our travelling foreman, said he's really enjoying being back over there. He's just one of those horses. Every trainer would love to have a horse like him. He's just 10 years old and still loving life.
So where you got the horses stabled?
So they're at Kersley's and Bobby as well. I've had to split them up, but because we've got a colt and a gelding and a filly. Yep.
And on the weekend, have you decided what race Mighty Ulysses will go into, Cranbourne Cup or the Gong?
We're going to rule out the Cranbourne Cup. I just think the ground's going to be too firm. And the Gong, I'm not sure it's a much better option either from the gate, but he's more likely to get us off the track. So he will either run in the Gong or he'll wait for the Festival Stakes next weekend with a bit of rain around. But we'll decide on Saturday morning.
Annabel, our listeners love following you and your stable, particularly with how tremendous both you and Rob are with your time here on TABradio. Who would be the best of your runners across the nation there on the weekend?
Oh, we haven't got too many runners this weekend, but I'd have to go for Port Lockroy each way.
Beautiful.
Annabel, hopefully we'll see you across here soon. Rob's here over the weekend. Thanks for coming on to Straight Up today. Well done.
Thanks very much, guys.
Thank you very much. Annabel Neasham there. What about our man, Mickey McGuane? He's opened up the batting with an $8 winner.
If you don't mind.
If you don't mind, punters. Picture us rolling. Race 1, number 6. We said, punters, get your bets on.
Paid $8 on the tote.
$8.10. He's a Ballarat specialist, as we said. And a great way to start. So if you missed that one and you want to join in with the chorus, race 2, number 7, race 6, number 2. If you back that first one, I know a couple of our listeners have.
Our friend Pete got involved. Nice tip, Mr. McGuane. Very nice. Great guy as well, it seems, as always. I enjoy his knowledge in footy, and now it seems the punt as well.
He hasn't missed at the trots.
Not one night has he gone over.
Yeah.
He's
normally value.
Always landed one.
Yeah. All right, that's enough for that. 20 away from 4. McGinnity's up next.
The Perth Racing Preview is where the Straight Up team finds you the winners, and here's the Straight Up team with their preview of Saturday racing from Ascot.
at the team in here today. Robbie Palmer might be gone, but he's left the ladies in the studio. They've all rocked up. A little bit of Simply Irresistible. The Pinnacles are back.
We forgot to factor in that they're 40 years old or older now. And that's
all right, mate.
Just not looking quite the same.
Hey, you're talking me. It's about the perfect age. Absolutely perfect. Oh, my goodness me. Day 2 of the Pinnacles on Saturday. How revved up are you?
Up and about.
Oh. Did you get through one okay? Bit underdressed.
So I've been told.
You're in the Morty McMorts.
So I've been told.
The Morty McMorts.
He was the number 1.
Yeah.
Looked very sharp,
Looking
didn't
very
he?
sharp.
Riles.
Oh,
Yeah.
Day 2, though.
Day 2.
Might have to try and get the emeralds out again.
I'm tipping there could be something going on day 2.
Might upgrade to the big boy pants for Saturday.
I think so. Well, it is the Railway Stakes, of course, on Saturday, sponsored by new sponsor to Swan Draft. Is that any good? Hey, Lockie Taylor was all excited when he saw the great bear back in charge. It was Kieran, I think, last year, wasn't it, for memory?
Back in the rightful hands of Swan Draft.
What about the race? Let's talk about it first off from the top before we have a look at weather, track and rail conditions. What are your thoughts from the bookies' point of view?
Cracking lineup, very interesting market moves early.
Wow.
I don't think we've seen anywhere near what the final market might show us, and getting plenty of communications from other punters, analysts, bookies, etc. that are thinking along the same lines. So plenty to play out, and that's the way we like it, Ross.
What a great betting race, Brad. I'm seeing lots of different opinions on the race already at this early stage of the week. Different opinions, not only with who to back, but how the race is going to be run, where certain runners are going to end up in running from the barriers that they've drawn. I just think it's, as it is most years, an enthralling contest, but this year more so than most. I think we've got some Eastern States horses that you touch on, Marty, aren't too overly taxed in terms of the preparations that they've had getting over here to WA. They're all in really good form, and I think over the last probably 4 or 5 years, this is one of the stronger editions of the race that we've seen.
And a fantastic meeting as a whole. Really looking forward to getting stuck into it. Some of these lead-up events are great, and the Guineas, this is one of the better Guineas. I reckon the more intriguing Guineas we've had for a while too. It is. It's a terrific renewal of the Guineas, I think. You know, if you look at it holistically, Neville Parnham plays a real big part of this, but you can sort of pick apart things within both of these 2 races for Neville, where you say he could go bang, bang, or you could say, right, well, I want to lay the favourites here, and I can make a case against both of these, you know, like obviously September born, then both of his runners in the Railway Stakes. And so many, both of these races, Railway and Guineas, so many roughies being tossed up by people as mad chances as well, which is a great thing to hear, as opposed to just favourite, you know, all along the board. It's
great. There are horses currently right down the bottom end of the market in the Railway Stakes that not only myself and yourself, Brad, but there are punters out there making really strong cases for, which is terrific. Well, the weather's sort of bounced around from 30 to 27. At the moment it is 27 again. Winds east to southeasterly 15 to 20, turning south to southwesterly during the day, then becoming light. So there'll be a sea breeze, but not nothing like the one we had last week. It was howling. Right. And like we know with breeze, it can change. It can start, it can stop. We saw conditions either seem to change, or maybe patterns change, or maybe we overread the pattern a little bit last week, because late in the day you had leaders going very well, and earlier in the day it didn't seem like they could go that well. But maybe people are just making a little bit too much of that, and race your horses to the best of their ability where they're the most comfortable and let it play out from there. Yep. Rail goes out to 5, so what have we got? True 3-5, sort of getting to that pad that the experts say is the best out there.
fairest?
Yep, I'd say so. The breeze doesn't look... Well, the forecast says it's only going to be a moderate sea breeze out there on the weekend, so I'm not really heading in with any preconceived ideas in terms of how this track is going to play and whether to favour runners on speed or off speed. Like we've seen, we've had days where you need to be 3 deep with cover, and that's when we've seen races run with those muddling tempos, when jockeys sort of get into the mindset of I need to be in this moving line or I need to get cover to be able to give myself the best chance of winning the race. So,
or if I'm going to lead, I've got to choke them down the back and can't punch into it. I thought we made the comments on Sunday. There were a few races that were conflicted that way, I thought, and it got very messy because there was just no early speed. No jockey wanted to push hard into that sea breeze down the back.
With your 100%, and to what stage are you actually doing that to the detriment of your own horse?
Of your own horse, 100%. Okay, 7 minutes to Mick's second tip. He's race 2, number 7 there if you're playing. And, yep.
And just before, if we are, I'm not sure, are we going to head to a quick break before we get stuck in?
We'll
get straight in. We'll launch. Just a reminder, just a little plug, that there's going to be an additional quaddie jackpot this Saturday at Ascot from the WA pools on Melbourne Cup Day that had not been distributed.
Is this a Barbaros quaddie or not?
No, this is just a third quaddie with Tab Touch, WA exclusive that you can bet on the weekend. So the usual quaddies, 2, 3, 4, races 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's going to be a third additional quaddie with a jackpot of $163,867 with the expected pool at $750,000 offered on races 4, 5, 6 and 7. So you've almost got an early quaddie, a middle quaddie and the actual quaddie to round out proceedings. So get involved. That'll be available exclusively only on the Tab Touch app on Saturday.
And the best part about that, Mart, it's WA tab only.
Yes.
And you've already got the juice in it. You get that extra juice of some of those syndicates not being able to chip away to the same extent.
Okay, mentioned Barbaro Butchers. The quaddie was too hard for our texters last week, and understandably paid $15,500. I think Mojo Rhythm tipped them all out in the RJ Peters.
Glenn from Fremantle was very close. He had 3 legs, and the only leg he didn't have was Storyville.
Yeah.
So he's gone close.
So he had Mojo?
He did.
Right.
He did have Mojo.
Bad luck, Glenn. Bad luck. Keep at it.
You can't be leaving out Pike and Williams.
Went the Pateman's up and about after that. Well done to them.
Well, and good luck to them too.
And how good luck? Last week, obviously very disappointing with Almighty Class not performing how they had expected him to or had hoped he was going to be able to then follow that up with the result with Mojo Rhythm earning himself a spot in the Railway for the second year in a row. It's just, the ebbs and flows of racing, isn't it?
100%, and it's a horse hadn't won, I don't think, since the Peters, had it?
No.
Since it won the Peters this time last year, or that time last year. And
didn't stop a Mart from giving me a thanks for the 30s champion.
Oh, yeah.
As I was walking past.
Yeah, well, it's an ongoing battle.
Isn't it great?
Win and lose. Now, and two, they did turn up to the Broken Hill Hotel. And Holly and Mitch team there did a fantastic job. Thanks for them. What are you up to, Riles?
Oh, we just have to get through one text message before we get stuck into this preview from our very regular listener and texter, Dutchy. He's heard on the grapevine that Mart's been suffering from a torn meniscus. He says, been there, done that, champ. Must have done it running to the bookies ring, collecting your baby Paris winnings. Either that or running from the crowds of women chasing him at the races last weekend.
Don't know about that. I beat a very, very low retreat, went around the back of the bookies ring, past the Flame Tree Bar, and nearly... That wind was that strong. When I went around that side of the old tote, it nearly blew me sideways. The old meniscus took another tear. I said, Jesus Christ, it's bloody windy.
Oh, he says, though, he can feel a big turn coming for you, especially with the gifts Vince McMahon's putting on offer at the moment.
Big Vince, they tell me it's a good doco. I want to have a look at it. Let's get into this. Now, we need to roll through these first ones early. Give us time for the better races. The Tab Touch Westspeed Platinum Series Heat 3, 1,400 metres. King Cartella's 9 into 650. We've opened up. An opening meerkat. Never seen one of them before.
The old Jeff Swampy Marsh meerkat.
The old text message.
Miss Vasari 61. On Patrol 12 into 9. Profit Pocket 9 into 7. There's a bit of movement here. Sun Bronzed, 16 into 950. Swim Through's 31 spec. Bo Talk, 23. Is there a scratching? No? Major Mario's 18 to 12. Pull the trigger. Oh, stop the fuck. Call it off. Stop the fight. Janny, 4 into 390. And let's say a bit of Mio Gusto there at 23. And down the bottom, Bell Journey is $13.
Yeah, Mart, what price did Janny open with Tab Touch, Mart?
$3.
Yeah, that would explain the drift. That drift there, the everything else sort of coming in. Apparently there's some states punters and other corporates and the national hybrid, etc. Market mechanisms, Mart. I think Janny should be a much bigger price. Possibly they have a few knocks on it, or possibly they just don't have the time to watch replays. I'm not really sure. But anyway, let's go with these wagers here. King Cartel, 400 at the 9, 400 at the 7. Not text message money. This is aside from text messages, this is other punters. So
the bowlers.
Worth noting. Well, possibly. Profit Pocket, 300 at the 750. Another 200 there. When that money starts to come, you always get a little bit nervous as a bookie. You just clench the sphincter a little bit. Sun Bronze, 300 at the $10. Money is starting to come for Janey now, around that 390 mark. And, yeah, that's snipping. Eastern State snipping there. Major Mario and Sun Bronze. And plenty of rank and file money piling up for King Cartel. Maybe the Pateman crew they've just got a little camp of bowlers that they're starting to launch into. I don't know, but it's a bit lining up there. Good betting race, Rolls.
Yeah, it is a good betting race. Not a lot would really surprise me, though, here, Brad, in the opener. Thought it was a very tricky race to attack with any conviction. I did put King Cartel on top in my preview, just on the fact that I thought he was super. First up, no trial, led throughout on a day where the fence was perceived to be quicksand and was only gunned down in the shadows by Climb on Top and had the remainder of that field accounted for. I think he should really improve for that outing. He leads again. I don't think he'll get it all his own way with a horse like Sun Bronzed entered into the race as well, but I do have some time for him as a horse and expect him to give a really good sight at the each way odds on offer. I thought Sun Bronze was a big price early doors as well. That's been snapped up. Some punters are keen that Joe as a party can sit in the breeze, and perhaps that King Cartel and Sun Bronze might be able to control proceedings from there. First race of the day. Janny, as you mentioned, Brad, never saw daylight whatsoever. Last start through that same race was absolutely bolting to the line and never came off the bridle. A little bit unsure where she gets to from the gate, but you just have to trust in Pike, don't you? Really.
Indeed.
And you could mount a case for a couple of others as well. Profit Pocket, one in that dead heat first up, has performed really well off the spacing between runs previously, but was accepted and scratched since, so you just have to query that slightly. I do like the map for her, though, and Belle Journey's on the back up out of a very high rating race last weekend behind Miss Sky High with a big jockey change as well with Clint Johnston-Porter jumping aboard.
So you gentlemen, how about the great mare? She goes around with the pads off, Miss Vasari.
Yeah, you only get so many mulligans, I would have thought, as an older race mare who's had a share of problems.
Yeah, but we get Batesy.
I'm expecting improved performance. I certainly will be having something on at the big price to find out. But it is time for her to pull her finger out, I would have thought.
Did you sort of get Batesy on by saying she's got a little bit of the other mare about her? Likes to, just needs the Irish jockey to bowl out in front and open up by about 5 or 6.
She's pretty much the opposite, so I don't know how Laney sold him into that. But, what I want to talk about as well with Janny's probably going to get most of us. Janny at that sort of $4 plus range around the traps. Bo Talk was very luckless, I thought, too, and has probably come back in career best. I don't mind the setup for it here, and that'll certainly get me into Novs each way betting, etc. at that price too, Martin.
Okay. Shout out to Bernie Stevens. Love those Willy Wagtail colours there of Janny, and all the best to you, Burn.
Plenty of quaddies coming in through too at the moment, so keep getting those in.
0427 789 571. That is for Retrovision and for Barbaro Butchers. Tab Touch. Don't let me forget either. Brad from Maylands. The Maylands Mauler tipped 4 last week. He's on the way back, he said.
The Mauler.
He's been mauling.
Where's he been? He's been AWOL.
I tell you what it was. He goes from the shoe, had his 60th birthday at the Civic on Sunday. There was 300 there. I didn't even get an invite. Well, no, I get that. And I don't think he's pulled up since. He just got a little bit of wind in the sails.
Over-raced.
There's been sightings of him, and they haven't been pretty. Have you got the touch handicap over the 20? And a very, very happy birthday to you, Higo. Well done. Hemlock Stone is a 550 chance. Tony Spirit is 16. Decoration 12 into 10. Royal Toronado 350 into $3. Henchard is 31. Manavendra Spect into 16. Affluential 7. Beats of War 51. Candlelight Supper 17 into 12. Alaskans 31. Spect. Kerman is $18. Arcadia Night 10. Dasher Brandy 31. Rock Legacy at $34.
Decoration Mart 300 at the $10.
Decoration. Yes.
Have it again. Champion.
Missed the 12s, did they?
Apparently so. Oh, Candlelight Supper, 500 each way at the $13 and $3.90. Well played. Royal Toronado, they really liked this early price. They've got stuck in 1,000 at the 330, another 900 at the 330, and 3,000 at the 320. Royal Toronado, very well supported. Aside from that, pretty quiet otherwise, gents.
The great Greg L. Great to meet Greg last Friday. Mart at the Broken Hill. Affluential race 2 with Zara on. Ticks every box for me, loading up. So Greg's getting involved nice and early here with Affluential. With Mark Zara in the saddle. Didn't do a real deep dive into this race, but I just loved the win last start of Royal Toronado. I think he looks a really nice staying type of horse on the rise to be able to gun down, fly with caution over the 1,800 metres last start. I just love the manner of that win. I think it's a really good platform out of a fast run race, stepping up to the 2,100 metres for the first time, the genuine staying trip. You keep Pike in the saddle, and I think he's capable of making a really good start to the day with 2 real key chances early doors, Marty. Hemlock Stone will be back there with him. He's going super and progressing really nicely at the moment. He's thriving over these longer journeys. Given how the race was run last start, I didn't think he was entitled to get up and win on the line, which only adds more merit to the performance, and he'll carry that 60 kilos without any issue. And the other runner, maybe a slight knock on Affluential, who I thought was a beneficiary of the tempo at which that race was run with where he settled when nosed out by Hemlock Stone last start. So that's maybe my slight knock, but love the booking of Zara. And I thought Arcadia Knight was a super run in that same race as Royal Toronado last start, and interested to see how he goes, Brad, getting out a bit further in trip as well.
This is a race where I suppose maybe the newer school think Royal Toronado will just sort of step up to that staying trip, Mart, and take care of them. I always like to see them do it once, step up to the 2,000 plus, and before I'm convinced they can stay, because this, I think what happened with Kerm last start, they probably went a little bit slow.
Too slow,
and realised it after the race, and so that I doubt that'll be happening again. So this could turn into a proper staying race. Also with Decoration there settling handy, and I'm leaning towards having an each way bet on Tony's Spirit at the 20s each way. That'll get me like the way this horse has been trending this campaign, and proven sort of staying type. Love the booking.
Should have won the York Cup.
Yeah, should have. And like the setup in this race.
He's had the good grounding, Royal Toronado, 18 mile, 1,800. So I don't think the step up to 21 from that stable, they love it.
Just how strong he was late, and how quick they went in that race. If they do really bowl along with Kerman going a lot quicker this time around, I just think he'll eat that up.
Okay, we go to race number 3. This is the Magic Millions Crystal Slipper Stakes over the 1,100 metres. One is back chatting at 34. Swishgo Bango, 101. Battle Road is 31. Buckled, 750. Delta Sun, 41. Exceed the Boom is 31. Now You See Me, 34. 8 Old Grandy is 34. Torcanco is $1.80, $1.70. Hard Solo, 51. Nature's Reckoning 101, Chisel Cosmic 26, Tango Rhythms 41, Yes Queen 290 to 350, Enough's Logo 41. So not a lot of confidence here.
No, not at all, Mart. How do you pronounce that number 2 horse?
Oh, I wouldn't know. Swish Go Bango? Well,
is that how you used to proposition ladies at 2 a.m. after 1,000?
I was a gentleman.
That's your best work, Mart. Shizzle Cosmic, 200 each way at the 30s. Pretty much it. So nice go there.
So what, just no confidence, 2-year-olds, not big betting?
You've got one that's been to the races, got the data 1 by 2. You've got another that's trolled like the second coming of Winks. And you've got a third one that missed its start in its trial and made up the ground look good down the outside. But and then you've got a bit of a tail, so it's hard to really... Yeah, punters looking elsewhere.
Yeah, it was a visually pretty breathtaking win, Talking Co on debut, after getting a mile off the speed. It was a 3-deep cover day, I will say that. But the data from the win certainly backed up the visuals, Marty. My only slight concern with her, given she wasn't all that quick away here, is from that inside draw, if she is a stride or two slow, she ends up cluttered up back towards the inside. And Yes Queen has looked so electric in those 2 400-metre jump outs. The time she ran was outstanding and she looked to do it quite effortlessly, really. I think if Pike can fire her out to find the top and you see Talk & Co perhaps back on the fence to the inside, needing a bit of luck and room to move to find a run, that's where Yes Queen might hold the aces on the favourite, who looks like she's a horse, a filly who appreciates some galloping room. But I think if Chris Parnham can keep her out in clear air, she is going to be very hard to beat again.
Very tough one to analyse, Mart. If it was a 1,000-metre race, I reckon I'd have Yes Queen a fair bit shorter. And I reckon if it was a 1,200-metre race, I'd have Talk & Co a fair bit shorter. This is right in the middle.
Right in the high diddle.
Going to watch and enjoy. These look like 2 very nice 2-year-olds going forward, don't they, Ross?
Yep, they do. And buckled a nice trial as well for our very own Digby Beecham at his only public appearance as well.
I think he bred that horse, didn't he? From memory?
Yes, out of one of his mares.
So do we see Talk & Co, Talk Canco, whatever it's called, do we see it from barrier 2 ridden more like the best horse in the race? Or do you stick with the pattern that's already been assumed?
She led in her trial prior to her debut.
Well, there you go. So from 2, surely at $1.70, you'd expect the horse to be ridden like it's in the top 4 or top 6. You're not so sure about this.
Trials are different tempos to races, and I think Talk & Co sort of battled a little bit to keep up.
She did early doors on debut. That's the query, Mart. Has to be, because she was a stride or 2.
So you're happy just let her do what she did and where she's comfortable.
When you let down like that, yeah.
With barrier 2, a chance that she could get pushed down to the fence and looking for runs?
Their strengths,
okay.
I reckon.
It'll be pending how she jumps.
Yep.
You disagree, Mark?
No, I'm playing devil's advocate, mate. I'm just trying to work out where she could end up in the run.
You're looking me straight
for our
in the
punters.
eyes.
It's these glasses, mate. I thought I was looking at Riley. It's almost 10 past 4, time for a quick break. I've got a couple. It is 12 past 4. You're on Straight Up. Microphone's on, gentlemen. And we are day 2 of the Pinnacles out there at Ascot on Saturday. How's that at Retrovision text line going?
Oh, our man Dups involved. He says, Duppy here. I heard Mart was walking around Ascot with Dwayne The Rock Johnson after Baby Paris on Saturday. McGuinnity and Morgan couldn't be any more Stewie Jew.
I get it.
I get it. Brad doesn't get it. Brad's not happy with you, Dup.
No, he's lost me. Anyway.
Do you want to give yourself a little trumpet for last week? Is there anything worth trumpeting?
No, it's just...
Oh, you just don't think...
People pay attention.
Well, I did have a crack at Mart last week for that. So.
You did, yeah.
That's all right.
The Maylands Mauler, he said you haven't read any of my tips out yet. So race 1, number 4, Profit Pocket. Race 2, number 4, Royal Toronado's with you. And he's going with race 3, number 14, Yes Queen. On to race number 4, the MCA Polytrack Handicap, 1,400 metres. And let's have a look at the betting here.
So, Mart, let me interrupt you. This is the Race 4 is the first leg of the
Yes.
WA Tab at Jackpot Quaddy, 160,000 bonus cashish going into the pool. WA punters only. WA Tab punters only. So that's a nice little mid-meeting gift.
I might have to have one myself. But this isn't the Barbro Butchers Quaddy. Don't get caught up with that, punters. We are 6, 7, 8 and 9. Sisu Warrior is $19. Bruce, he's 15. Ginger Green's $9.50 from 14. Own the Queen 11 into $9.50. Russian to the Bar is $4.60. Fast Flicker 5 to $6.50. Keshi Boom $4.20. $4.20. $3.20. Excel Train 14 to 15. Blue Lagoon 16 into 11.
Brooke.
Oh, for Brooke. Madam Kiss is 12 out to 16. And the Horseman is $51. They've come for Keshi?
Indeed. They've come for Brooke too.
Yeah. But I'd say the weight of money would be Keshi, wouldn't it? The bigger money.
Indeed, Mark. Thank you. Thank you for clarifying. Ginger Green, 800 places at the 370. Keshi, 600 at the 420. Oh, Jesus. They're lining up 400, 300, 300, 300, 400, 300, 400, 300. Needs a car wash, Smart. Blue Lagoon, 700 places at the 425. Ginger Green, 300 each way. Ginger Green's getting good each way support there.
Yeah.
Fast Flicker. Yeah, that's a little bit of worrying money there, Fast Flicker. And also, Russian to the Bar, a little bit of snipping there too.
Richie Bell was all over that last week. Wasn't bad either, was it?
Very
Russian
good
to the
run.
Bar.
I thought it was a good one. Good run, Mart. Russian to the Bar. I found this a great betting race because there's going to be plenty making cases for a number of these, Brad. Your favourite at the moment, Keshi Boom, looks ready to peak. Third up for the prep. Grant Williams, following her last start effort, Mart, was very happy to say on record that they've just about got her back to her very best.
Yep.
She's right back on track, and you just have to pay attention when a camp like that says something like that. She gets Pike back on board here. Midfield cover run in transit. She looks as though she's primed to put in her best performance for the campaign. Whether it's good enough to win, still my niggling little question mark with her. Rushing to the Bars on the 7 days out of the RJ Peters. Who knows how that race is going to hold up as a form reference. I'm hoping it's going to be one we can follow throughout the day. I thought his run had plenty of merit. Was shunted very wide on straightening after reefing and tearing off that slow tempo throughout. And then his run the start prior behind Cosmic Crusader was luckless. I didn't think there was much between him and the luckless effort of Keshi Boom in that same race. So the way the market positions itself at the moment, I'd say he's probably the better value of the pair, Rushing to the Bar, in terms of a betting proposition. I thought Blue Lagoon posed some value here as well at the double figures, going a lot better than it reads on paper. Think he can hold a much better position in running here from the barrier. Was just off the track last start behind Hell I Am, but still got home really well despite the wide run. You get Lucy Fiore aboard, Brad, some weight relief down to the 54 kilos, and think if he can hold the back of the leader in running here, I think he'll run a massive race at double figures, and not surprised at the big money on the place for him at the price on offer. And you could make cases for Fast Flicker, who's unbeaten second up in her career. First up effort was sound, and Ginger Green brings that Joker's grin form. Hit the line in a better last 200 than the Boss Lady, who was huge into second last weekend in the Jungle Mist, and maps for a good run from the barrier. He's certainly got some tactical speed, Ginger Green, as well. So there's plenty. There's a bit to this race, isn't there?
And I echo your sentiments exactly, Riles, in what you're saying, that Keshi Boom, where everyone's expecting it to elevate and put in close to her peak performance for this prep. Will that be enough in this race? Because this is a hot little race, good little lineup. So excited to watch, not really excited to punt. All right.
Fast Flicker, you mentioned. Is that the right money trickling in? Flicking in?
We'll know more over the next few days, but yeah, it's a good start.
LJ Andrews.
Very nice return.
Tony Triscari.
you pay attention when there's money for his a lot of the time, but they can get it very right.
Yes.
Tony Triss.
Yep.
A few horses really getting spat out of this market that are in a bit of form too. So
Bruce Almighty was good first up.
Very good. Madam Kisses has been humming this preparation. So.
Okay, race number 5. Now, this is the second leg of this new quaddie, the WA Tab Touch WA exclusive third quaddie. It's like the third leg. This is the second leg. The AJ Scale Stakes, it's now 2,100 metres, the scale. Remember, for years it was 14. One Starry Heights, 9 into 6.
Really relevant news.
The Optimistics out to 20. Curramundi is 10 to 11. Blazing Away 26 to 31. Holy Enchantment is 10 out to 12. Sentimental Hero 360, 420 back to 4. Demolish 676. Fat Roy Slim is 71 into 41. Flower in the Wind is 41 to 31. In Good Order 6 to 550. Red Dwarf 126 and Red Sun Sensation 4 to 5. 4 out to 5.
Mart, Demolish 600 at the $7. Plenty of each way snipping Curramundi and a nice $300 bet there on In Good Order at $5.50, which you could probably return to the back of the queue and have again.
Will never not make me laugh. Have it again, champion. Yeah, interesting race. A lot of these obviously come out of the Lucky Grey last start, which was a very genuinely run 1,800-metre contest. Sentimental Hero was huge in that race. Wide throughout on a really strong speed. Was as strong as anything through the line, bar the winner, Diamond Scene. He is on trial at the Genuine Staying Trip for the first time, but that last run suggests to me it won't be of any issue for him. I think he's very much a deserving favourite. Here, Sentimental Hero. I like the profile for Demolish as well on the quick backup from the RJ Peters last weekend. You can forget he went round. If anything, it was probably a nice little primer of a gallop heading to this race. The last 2 occasions he's backed up off the week, Marty, he's been a winner both times. Demolish, I anticipate Steve Parnham will ride in with some aggression here to try and land in the first 4 if he can begin a bit better than he did last week when he just threw his head in the air as the gates opened and was slow out as a result. And to keep him off the fence, I think he's a massive improver and going a lot better than what reads up in the form guide. I'm hoping I'll be able to back the pair for a result here in the Scahill Cup and get involved for the first time on day 2 of the Pinnacles with Sentimental Hero and Demolish. Other runners of interests, In Good Order was on the wrong part of the track, but just thought was maybe a bit grindy in the run home off that really strong tempo. Should get a much better run here and has to be respected. And Red Sun Sensation could just about lead in control, Brad, and is only going to keep improving as they get up and trip towards the Perth Cup. But in saying that, I thought he was beaten home fair and square by Sentimental Hero last start, who was a much superior run.
I'm a bit confused by that Lucky Grey race. I think they took turn. I think they certain parts of the race were probably run at a reasonable tempo, but don't seem to stack up at times. And the whole field spread at the wrong time, and they still seem to be going slow and really messy race to decipher. So I'm not really sure. If they're just going to continue going around in that sort of form as they just run the races more truly. So the one I'm with you with Demolish, it should have won, really, shouldn't it, last week? It goes closer. Goes close. Got a sprint home. It gets held up twice. It's just
I think he's going
through the line. Yeah, so it's the one that naturally, if it does, just do the right thing out of the gates, naturally holds a spot handy. And another race where I'm just very concerned about the tempo, so I'm not betting with any confidence, though.
All right, let's move on to race number 6, third leg of the WA exclusive quaddie and the first leg of the Barbaro Butchers quaddie. And the fixed flux for this race, 1 is Valor Road, is 550 into 420. Maracino, 31 into 23. Massimo 51.61. Mood Swings is 41.31. River Rubicon 14 out to 17. Devoted is 9 out to 15. Aztec Ruler is 6.50. All the King's Men 10 to 8.50. Investment Strategy $9. Weapon Sun 61. Yonga Lass 2.90. Pompeii 20 to 19.
Our book's taken a huge turn recently with this one, Mart. Right. So earlier it was Vallet Road, a couple of $600 bets there at the 480 and the 440. Aztec Ruler 500 at the 650. All the King's Men 300 at the 10. A bit of Mood Swing snipping, a little bit of Maritino snipping, a bit of River Rubicon snipping, and then the money's just started piling in Yonga Lass. So we know Butchie's got a mobile phone, obviously, and a few bowlers because the money's really started piling in.
So does that mean Democracy Manifest is going to start?
Who knows?
That's what it indicate to me. Would that not indicate that to you?
Well, you know you're getting your money back if you...
Yeah.
All will be revealed
Either
tomorrow.
one. Yeah, that's... I don't think that'd be any... There's nothing...
No.
Scandalous about it.
No, there's nothing. It's all been... we started reporting it on Tuesday on this very radio station.
He might have a mobile phone, Butchie, but he's also got a very nice deck.
Yeah, an impressive deck.
It's a big deck.
You know, talking about that at the Mundaring next Friday, Grant Williams, I think Dan Morton, another big name could be, well, there will be, into the Racing on the Road. That's where it is next week.
You went out there for a little stakeout earlier this week, didn't you?
Yeah, it was good. We went there. We went to the Brook and also to the Kingsway, all in one hit.
Small joint in the Kingsway.
Just
how how you'll fit everyone in.
How would you like to be counting the till on Sunday morning? It's all on cards now, anyhow. You can't get a decent crack at it.
Yeah. Well,
hello to the ATO if you're listening.
Paul off the text line seems to think Democracy Manifest is certainly starting. Had a gallop on the grass this morning.
Well, there you go, punters. See, we smoked them out. It makes sense. Why are you going to back it if it's not going to start? But all of a sudden you say, well, hang on, this has worked well. So we'll back it now. Weapon Sun. I've got to send a cheerio out to a really good mate of mine, Grant Lillyman, who's out there at Morley Mitsubishi and DVM.
Cha-ching.
And
poor bloke has to go to work with the mauler every day.
Yeah, the mauler gets him every day. But Lethal Weapon, how impressive was that the other day, if you don't mind, punters?
Mark's just made a half payment on a new Pajero.
Toyota tank. Anyway, let's have a look at this.
You are real good. Real good.
Got Machino stickers all over.
Package just texted in. I've been sprung. He's got me. Anyway, and don't forget we've got Northern Greys, and just having a look up there, our man Jesse Erenshaw's calling the action. He's made contact to Jesse to Earth, and we'll be getting to Jess in about 10 minutes for our scene-setting preview.
The Carbine Club.
Yes. It's on now. That'd all be
it is.
Elephants. Swahili.
Always a very fun afternoon. I think they had Jared Waitley today.
Oh, Jared. Yes. The
Good morning.
Talking about black caviar.
Oh, well. I think Yonga Lass is going to prove very hard to beat, Mark.
Yep.
Put it bluntly. Run of the race in defeat last weekend in the RJ Peters after drawing widest. Got back to last. Incredibly slowly run race. Always going to be hard to pick them up when they go so slow from there.
Yeah.
She's on the quick spin. She's a previous winner off the 9 days, so I don't think that's going to have any negative effect on her whatsoever. And she's going to get a lovely run in the race. Run at a more genuine tempo under William Pike. Gets a couple of kilos on Aztec Ruler from the Asian Bow. I just think it looks a great setup for her and think she looks one of the better bets of the day. There are some dangers, I will say that. Aztec Ruler's flying. Is 2 kilos worse off Yonga Lass from the Asian Bow. Was good last weekend, having to go back to the inside, given how that race was run, and gets a good map once again from barrier 5. All the King's Men bring some real interest. Huge run on resumption behind Almighty Class after a 20-month layoff from the track. Hasn't missed the top 2 in 6 career starts over the 1,400 metres. Drawn well and not overly concerned about a flat one second up off such a long layoff, Mart, as his run has intentionally been spaced a month to give him that added time to come through it. And Devoted back in WA, back in town. Very nice trial. Goes very well fresh. Will get back from the barrier, but I'm expecting him to run a massive race with some luck and a flowing cart into it on straightening. So Younger Lass on top for me. Really keen. Think she'll win. But there is some depth to the race certainly as well.
I'm going to have a tiny each way bet on River Rubicon and...
Oh, you've pitched it off me.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, River.
Yep.
Good run last start.
Yep.
Sat back last.
Yep.
Beaten 3.
Indeed.
59.
Nice form race. Stronger form race.
Yep.
I think this could
Drops
has
weight.
a chance of setting up well for it too.
But you've got to stick with Younger Lass if you're on it last start. They just went too slow, and that caused it just span its wheels when he went, didn't it? And then it just got low flying and flashed home in that flying sectional and just missed. Mojo Rhythm wins.
Couple of Williams runners third up on day 2 of the Pinnacles look primed to run their biggest races for the campaign. Keshi Boone being another.
All right. Time for a break. We'll come back with the big 3. They're up next.
Coming up to the turn at the 450. True Apostle, Patron Express are back there with the Cross Generations and Street Band. Into the home straight though, and Horcrux headed for the judge clear. Running second, Ripper Farouk, Sir Dream a Lot. September Born now letting down. And here comes the favourite. He cuts the ribbons. September Born ranges up, grabs the lead. Down the outside, starting to run on Exceed the Planet, but September Born, Exceed the Planet is making a real race of it, but September Born wins. September Born, another one for the Parnham stable, and Brad Parnham as well. Beat home Exceed the Planet. Third home Olympic Park. In behind them came Patron.
Well, there it is, the finish of the Fair Ether, traditional major lead up into the WA Guineas, sponsored this year by White Claw. And let's have a look at the betting as we
Good bev.
line up the 3. Right. Any good? The White Claw? I've never had one.
Yeah, good bev.
Big Shots 41, 2 Street Band is 31, September Born 250. Now Elite Missile is 17, Olympic Park 12, Pond Master 126, Exceed the Planet 12, King Hit is 61 a drifter, the Merry Man 41 into 31 after hitting 51, Patron Express is 41, Skullbone and Pig is 19 in from 23, Rally the Troops 101, London's Image 18, 19 into 13, Storyville is the story. $5 into $3.90. Ron's Final Flutter, 31.23, and Flower of Gold, 26. So, bit of action down there with the fillies.
As there tends to be, Mart. September Born. 2,000 at the 260.
Oh.
Elite Missile, 350 each way at the $15.
How much?
Oh.
Get back in the queue.
And have a little bit of a bonus. London's Image, 300 at the 13. Skullbone and Pig, heaps of place money. That started flowing when the announcement was made. J-Mac. King Hit, 200 each way at the 50s, if you don't mind. Storyville. All right, here we go. Grab your ankles, bookies. 500 at the 5, 1,000 at the 460, 600 at the 460, 500 at the 480, 500 at the 480, 400 at the 460, 300 at the 460, 300 at the 460. Fair dinkum.
How long you got?
Not long left to live, I reckon, by the looks of this market. That might see me out.
Wow. Well, one for the dup, though. You can get on the missile again. Have it again, dup. What a... Yeah.
Dup it again, champion.
Dup it again. Cracking edition of the Guineas. September Born. Now, Did he hit the front too early? Did he get tired late? Is he a query perhaps, Brad, at seeing out a strong 1,600 metres or a strong enough mile to win a Guineas? I think they're all very valid questions that are going to be answered on Saturday. I have no doubt that nifty Neville has left some wriggle room to work with him in terms of screwing him right down for this third up for the preparation. I don't think he'll have any excuses from the barrier he's drawn with the run he's going to get. I just don't see any value in launching him at the $2.50, given just the niggling little concerns I have that maybe he's too sharp to be at his best over a mile. It's just a light little concern that I have, especially off the back of that last run. And I think there's a bit of value in the race in terms of how I frame my market. Street Bend finally draws a gate for the first time this campaign and will be ridden with some more intent to utilise it and hold a spot. All his sectionals suggest he's screaming for a mile. Love the jockey booking and his way overs for me at $31. I'll be having something on him. Elite Missile at the 17s. I'll be having something on him as well. Going to need some luck from that inside draw, Brad. But shades on, looking for a mile and even beyond. Pen job last start as a beaten favourite, and still, despite not fully extending late, the run was a lot better than it reads on paper, and he got home in some of the best late splits of that entire meeting. I think he's a genuine winning chance with luck, and love the Chris Parnham booking as well. And Exceed the Planet proved his run in the Belgravia was no fluke last start with how well he went again. Off that, he just poses more value to me than the favourite at the double figures on offer. You could start even longer late. A number of those runners I've just mentioned, I thought he was just as good as September Born in that Belgravia, and then just as good in the Faritha, and hit the line of the pair like he'd be the one better suited up to the mile and drawn well once again. And we haven't even touched on the girls yet.
Yeah, it's what I love about this race. You can look at it from so many different angles. Some people look at it simply and go, September Born's a star, we'll be winning, no problems. Some people will say the fillies, one of the fillies, this might be one out of the box that's just starting to put it all together. I'm actually looking at similar lines to yourself in regards to Street Band being one of the best $30 pops that you'll see in a horse race. If Street Band was bred slightly differently, I'd be even more keen. But Mark, the Lucky Street out of Snuglet sort of has me maybe slightly concerned about the mile, but the horse looks like a miler in its races.
Yeah. It's got that scenic blood in it through Snuglet, so that'll help if it kicks in at some stage.
And the horse that I have very little doubt will be looking for the mile more than most, and I still have its poster on my wall, is Olympic Park, and getting out to a great each-way price. Nothing went right last start.
Hitting the line well, wasn't it, in that third in the Faritha. Mickey Grantham will be a special guest on Friday too, out there at the gate. Look, I believe if the internal wrap on September Born wasn't as strong, I don't think it'd be as short. But Neville, Cess, Brad Parnham, anyone who's had anything to do with this horse is just telling us it's an out-and-out freak.
Yep. There's no doubt it's a very good horse.
Okay, but if you just took that race that we just listened to, the Faritha, in isolation and grabbed somebody from another country and said, have a look at this race, what do you think? I guarantee 8 out of 10. So I think probably that second horse could beat the winner over 200 metres. And it's been close to it twice.
Yep.
Twice now.
No fluke.
So it's if the raps are true on this horse and he is that good, then he'll come out and take care of business.
Yep.
Absolutely. And there's now the text line starting to, I guess, pucker up a bit, saying that he's immoral, that he's just going to go out there and win. And that's an opinion people are very much entitled to have. Paul's texted in and said, look at Rylie, look at how wide the horse was in the early stages last start. Well, yes, he was wide, but he got cover. Would it be fair?
Yeah, Olympic Park was wider.
Yeah, exactly right. So I still, in Olympic Park as well, I probably would have liked to have seen a bit more late for me.
Okay. I thought he'd done enough.
Yeah,
enough. For a horse who's probably going to be 16 plus.
Yeah. No, I can see it.
I think you've got to go back to 2001 to find a Faritha WA Guineas winner.
Well,
I'm pretty sure that'd be Royal Retrieve. I can't find one unless I'm skimming through too quickly, and that happens. But
King Saul didn't.
King Saul got beat in the Fair Ether, ran fourth, but won the main one, the WA Guineas.
I like this text from Jared from Scarborough. 2 best bets you can lock in every Thursday. The Dubster declaring elite missile and Mayland's Brad tipping 9 favourites.
The baller. But back to this, because we've got to get to Jesse very soon. Horses Storyville, the win was outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. And if you talk to Grant about it, there were a few issues before getting the filly right for the champion fillies, and we saw what she could do then. And he had no hesitation, did he, after the race, saying, look, if this horse pulls up any good, and you could almost tell that he knew she already had, that it's going to the Guineas, and a little bit of mail around that if all goes well in this, that Pye could be putting his hand up to ride it at the lightweight. Huge winning chance. And the girls have won 5 of the last 7 Guineas. Yep.
So there's a fair bit of recent history in her favour.
The other, you've got to go back to Elite Missile and the mail that come out of this show a couple of weeks ago when it said this horse will be going round the other way into the WA Guineas and will not be at its top in the race before. Blinkers go on.
I don't think it could have gone any better either.
I think he will run
where it found itself in the run.
I think he will run a massive race.
It's a good race.
And I love just talking to SJ during the week on Drive, Marty, on Tuesday night, how he said, I've always been really excited to get blinkers on this horse, and I've just kept them in the back pocket for this. This is where I've been saving them up for. So
they work for King Saul.
Where's that trumpet sound effect?
Craig Williams wasn't bad either, I've got to say.
And we're not being...
Come on, numbers please, we've got to get to Jesse.
I'm backing Olympic Park and Street Band.
Small bets for me, set Street Band, Elite Missile, Exceed the Planet, all at double figures.
Love it. Let's finish up with the WA Guineas. We need to talk about a few more of these. And first off, Skullbone and Pig, great jockey change there. And also for London's Image, who was so cheeky last start.
Thank you, Bart. Massive performance.
There's a lot of lights here.
Patron Express, very good as well. There's a bit to go on with this race, and even the 2 down the bottom, you only have to look at 1 or 2 of their previous runs this campaign to make a huge case for them.
100%. I think a horse like, and I know Storyville was a far superior run and win last week, Marty, but I think in a much more genuinely run race, like we saw in the Burgess Queen, horses like Flower of Gold and Ron's Final Flutter, with that race run differently to how it was last weekend, they're going to be much better suited and they're going to run a lot better as a result. They're not impossibilities at their big prices now, are they?
Surely to suit. If they run along in this and a more genuinely run race, it'd suit Storyville more than the other two.
100%, but you're getting $3.90 about one and having something small on those other horses that I thought were as good in the Burgess Queen, 26.
I couldn't have those two.
I just don't think they're impossibilities, is what I'm saying.
Well, maybe 3rd and 4th box. Where's Richie Bell when you need him? But quickly, Skullbone and Pig, I know it's easy because it's J-Mac, but could you think of a better rider to ride this horse?
No.
For the way the horse is, from what we've seen of him, he's still such a raw, doesn't know what he's doing. He just needs, and no pot on CJP here, but you're talking the best jockey in the world right now at the moment. Gets onto him.
Yeah, it would be some training performance, second up 1,000 metres to the mile, winning a WA Guineas, even with the best jockey in the world in the saddle.
I've got that much confidence in this big horse that he will run closer to top 5 than bottom 5. Skullbone and Pig.
I have a massive opinion of the horse as well, mate.
Yeah.
I just think, it's a big ask.
What's the ask? The 1,000 to the 16. That's not the ask. The horse wants it 1,600. He's wanted 1,600 all his life.
The race experience, the
map, how far back he gets.
Well, he just sits back and goes wide and comes around him, doesn't he? And if he can make up ground, he'll be thundering. But anyway, how would I know? It's a map. Let's get into the big one.
The game makes us all look a bit silly at times, Mark, but wouldn't be surprised if 6 or 7 of these are pretty serious players in a year's time. Most of our good ones.
Yeah. Well, have a look at last year's winner. You know, he got beat in the Fair Ether. And ran third in the weight for age after this, didn't he? The Nordley. Zip away.
Yeah. Bad memories, thanks, Mark.
Sorry to bring it up.
Both of you.
Right, let's go to this. The Swan Draft, Railway Stakes, 1,600 metres. Gee, there's been some action in the ring. And punch right around the ring, the bookies here. Belclair, 750 into 5. Bustler, 15 to 19. Casino 17, 20. 21 into 16. Democracy Manifest, 850 out to $18. Light Infantryman, 4, 480, 460. Magnificent Andy, 23 hit 31 into 26. Comfort Me's been 21 to 34 to 26. Let's Galavan out to 81. Search and Rocks is 26 in. Sox Nation, 13 to 20. Just the barrier that's caused that. Mojo Rhythms, 41. Port Lockroy, 15-18. Now, after the interview with Annabel, he's gone into 13. Super Smink is 13 into 11. Triple Missiles out to 61 after training at 81. Tricks of the Trade, 17, 21, 20. And Zip Away is 6, 850, 750. With Yongalas, First Emergency, 23, 34, 26.
You don't like these large fields, do you, Mark?
Why is that, mate? What?
Just test your lung capacity.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Tricks of the Trade, 400 each way at the $18. Light Infantryman, 800 places. The evens there early. Well played up. 700 wins also at the 460, 700 wins at the 420, 600 wins at the 460, 500 wins at the 460. Comfort Me, 500 at the $26. Belclair, 500 at the 5. Another couple of 500 each way Light Infantryman bets there at the 480. Tricks of the Trade, another 200 each way at the 20. Heaps below that, plenty of each way support. Casino 17. I got that right first up. Had plenty on. Great betting race, as you would expect, in regards to our biggest liabilities at this stage. And through our futures books leading into this race, Casino 17 has been a pretty ordinary result all the way through, as has Tricks of the Trade.
Wow, what a race. Where do you start, really? Should we just get straight into our selections, Mark? Or did we want to...
No, whip through it.
Look at each. We'll whip through it. Zip Away's been my railway horse from a long way out, and despite the draw maybe not being exactly ideal, he's subsequently drifted in the market as a result. I am sticking with him on an each-way basis. Had a slightly delayed start to his campaign due to an innocent stable mishap. It only set him back to 7 days, and it certainly didn't worry him, given how he performed first up in the Listier. Drew an inside barrier on a day the fence wasn't the place to be. Was held up behind a wall of horses on straightening and had to just duck back to the worst part of the track. And despite that, he got through and hit the line as well as anything over the closing stages. He'll take huge improvement from that, Brad. Dropped some massive 6 kilos down to the minimum. One of the best big race riders in WA in Steve Parnham, looking for back-to-back Railway Stakes in the saddle, who's opted to ride him over last year's winner, and just think if he can find him a spot and jam him in from that gate, whether it be with the lack of speed in the race a bit more forward than what most people anticipate, or in that 3-wide moving line with a flow into the race, I'm convinced that he's going to go mighty close to taking out this year's edition of our great race.
I concur. So is that barrier draw as bad as some may think? They look at the 12 where you take 2 out, the 2 emergencies out, you come into 10. You've still got Belclair drawn outside you if you zip away, which is always handy to know you're going to have one sort of taking you across a little bit that might end up in front of you. You've got a lot of back markers between you and the fence, and a lot of horses that are quite jibby at the start as well. So it all comes down to racing luck, but I don't think that barrier draw is as bad as some are saying.
No.
Barrier draw is certainly good for Light Infantryman, who straight after the barrier draw, I was sort of of the opinion that this horse might start around the $3 mark.
Really?
But that money for Belclair nationally has been quite astounding. We haven't seen a heap of it, but obviously there's either, stable word or some pros over east that are keen that have left Tab Touch alone, Mart, but where there's smoke...
Well, it's Bjorn Baker, and his horses traditionally do get well backed, particularly in the bigger races, and they normally win.
Very good at travelling them over here, that's for sure.
Synthetic hoof filler on? Both.
Slight little knock concern.
Yeah.
Has to be.
I think it's both feet too, isn't it? Front.
History will say that it's going to be very tough for her, but I think the placement's right. This is the right sort of setup and railway where she can come here and run a massive race. The form she's in, I think Nash will get her to the front. I know Comfort Me is going to kick up and want to hold a really strong position, but I think Nash Willer will just say, no. I'm leading this race. He'll get this horse across. And there doesn't look to be a lot of genuine opposition to her or to him in terms of getting her across, which is going to make things very interesting. I think with Light Infantry, man, it was a great win, dominant win. I thought the other Raiders bring better form than the Chester Manifold. And I know J-Mac hopped aboard and he went bang. But is it a bit of J-Mac tax that we're seeing?
Probably is. Look, the horse should have won the Crystal Mile. There's no doubt about that. Just put down on its nose and was extremely unlucky. To me, it's a sense of timing with it, and it'll be great to catch up with Kieran tomorrow and really dig down with him and find out what they really feel about his chances. But he's a horse who they've taken a long time to get to the bottom of, and it feels like they've just got him right now. And he's a right place, right time type of horse. I just want to go back to Belclair. Her form at a mile, she's won two. She certainly won one Group 1 at a mile. It might be two, I'm not sure. But her two wins at the 1400, particularly in the Hot Danish and in that invitation at Group 2 level. If you watch her on the line, she's getting away from Magic Time again, and we know how good Magic Time is.
Group 1 winner.
Yeah, so that the form that Belclair brings is good. Don't fall into the fact that the mile might sort her out, because it won't. It's just, to me, with her, is the 57.5.
Yeah,
going to sort her out.
That's the knock for me.
From barrier 14 or 12, whatever she comes into.
I think she'll be in front at the 200, maybe the 150, but something might just get to her with that weight from the barrier, having to work across late.
Just another rider I'll put on it, and we've got Northern 2 minutes away, is sometimes, and I've seen it with Craig do it on Gathering, he did it with Good Project. A lot of times these real good jockeys will come across here in this race, they'll get to the front and dictate. No one can dictate better than Nash. And if he does and dictates and gets the right sectionals going his way, watch out, because she is going well enough and she's a good enough mare to be able to beat them. If that's one of the scenarios, Riley.
It is, certainly is.
Yeah.
Especially with a world-class rider
like Nash. Yep. And you could be watching the race, and I've done it, but with both those railways, you're watching and going, well, someone put some pressure. Hang on. You've just allowed him to get away with 400 metres on his terms, not another. 600 now. Now you are in a bit of trouble. You know, he did it on Craig, I'm talking about, on Gathering, on Good Project, and you just go, hang on, this has got to win. So that's one scenario. The other, back to Light Infantry, man, these greys going towards the boxes at the moment, is the other thing with it, he's got undoubted class on his UK form. They wouldn't be bringing it here for the holiday. So, and it gets that right draw to get all the favours, doesn't it, with McDonald? We're just pulling apart the Swan Draft Railway Stakes. Rylie Morgan and Brad McGinnity. We're up to, well, let's have a look at Bustler. Hey, put them on, mate. It's not TV. Headsets are handy. Bustler. What about his chances? Last year's winner.
The way the weights have turned out, great for him. The lead-up runs building very nicely. It's tough to stick a fork in him, Ross.
It is. It's carries 3 more kilos than last year in what I think is a stronger edition of the race.
Correct.
I think is probably what's the knocks on him. And I'd prefer be with Zip Away down on the 53 than with Bustler.
Money for money for Casino 17 after winning the Lustia.
And lots of it, Mart.
Yeah. So was that just the run of, that was the run of this campaign for him, or is he going to build off that?
That's the big question, is can he reproduce that run second up?
Second up. His second up form lights.
But
good.
yeah, gee.
The money tells you.
You rarely get 20-1 to back something William Pike is aboard in a Railway Stakes D.
That's also a last start winner.
Yeah.
Another former winner I think needs to be hugely respected is Tricks of the Trade. There's 3 locals at the moment at big prices I think are all value and would be throwing them in my exotics. Any exotics that you do have if you like playing your trifectas and first fours, Magnificent Andy, Search and Rocks and Tricks of the Trade.
Yep.
I think they're all going super and they're all genuine winning chances with the right run and things going their way. Tricks of the Trade, I've loved everything about just the building of his preparation into this again. He was luckless in the race last year. Perfect draw for him. Loved how he hit the line late in that Lustia. It was the perfect final run to peak into this race third up. I think he's over the odds at 20-1. I agree with Diggers, who was pretty bullish on him running a massive race on the show this morning. Search and Rocks is flying, been due a barrier, and she's finally got one.
Yep.
She's going to run a massive race. And Magnificent Andy's going to need some luck from barrier 1, given how he has been stepping and leaving the barriers in recent times. He's certainly not as quick away as he was a bit earlier in his career, but I thought his run last start behind Casino 17 in that Lustia, given he missed the start, had to be really roused along to hold his position, and then he had to bullock his way into the clear with 200 to go. I thought the way he hit the line and how close he got in that finish was outstanding. And I think with luck in running, if Brad Parnham can poke through when he needs to or get him into clear galloping room, he's going to run a mighty race as well.
So your logic you're using with Bustler, I want to turn on to Tricks of the Trade, even though he's got the same weight as he won 2 years ago. Tricks of the Trade beat Comfort Me, Star Trade, Resort Man, last of the line. So then you've got to say, is Tricks of the Trade a better horse now than he was 2 years ago? Or going the same?
I think, maybe not 2 years ago. I would say last year he was luckless in the race. And
yes,
I
he was.
His final lead-up run this time around was better than 12 months ago.
Okay.
When he got so close, third up.
He's one I'll certainly be having some more on because I've already had some on Tricks of the Trade. The other one I want to talk about, so we're covering a few of the locals that we think are sneaky chances, Comfort Me, who's just drawn sweet. I think Comfort Me just seems to, for whatever reason, appreciate these lighter weights, the handicap conditions, and he's just drawn so beautifully here, has railway form.
Definitely.
Everything just looks a nice setup for it. But punting-wise, Zip Away, have already gone 4 times Zip Away. We'll probably go another 2 times before the race. And Tricks of the Trade each way. And if I have knobs, I'll be throwing Comfort Me in there.
Well, and just barriers obviously have dictated that Super Spink's no chance after the win in the Asian Bow because she was outstanding.
Makes it tough.
But they have one from out there. We're only talking about it during the week.
And in some ways, riding her for a bit of luck for a little bit of that old suck ping.
Yeah,
that's right down her alley anyway. We haven't heard anything from Trevor from Thailand today, have we? On the
no.
Yeah, I wouldn't
tough life over there in
I
Thailand.
would not be discounting Super Smink either, just on the back of the barrier. I know barriers mean everything, but, Medicine Kid barrier 16, Milady's Jewel Drew out there at double figures. They can win them from out there.
That was when they had to take the penny farthing to the races.
Well,
you can make a case for...
I believe in history until proven otherwise, mate. Democracy Manifest. Let's talk a few of these Eastern Staters. Obviously, we're a bit worried about the report. Tuesday has to be vetted tomorrow. The barrier was a dampener, barrier 19, but its form coming in outstanding. The run in the Epsom was terrific, and you got to remember that it was off a little bit of a freshen going into the Epsom, and then the third in the Craven Plate behind Lindemann and Spirit Ridge. Definitely good enough for a race like this.
Very wise old man once told me of WA racing, you need to be equipped in running a stiff 1,800 metres to be able to win a Railway Stakes, and this horse certainly did that, every bit of that last start, Marty.
Yep. It'll be interesting to see how it goes with this vet report tomorrow, but you'd say that what we're finding from the markets, we'll get through it, and what we're hearing. Sox Nation, well, it's probably got the best form of any horse in this race. Last start, third to Atisha and Amelia's Jewel, 1,600 metres. You go back and have a look at this at the 800 metres. It was just bowling along, and you think, wow. Took two good ones to beat it. Before that, the run behind Jimmy Starr, again, was back in the field, travelling beautifully. I know they were very keen on getting a good draw for this and thinking it had a great chance, and now it's another that's out there, and you've got to deal with the hand you dealt. This is the one I like. It gets the right draw, and we spoke to Annabel's Port Lockroy. It's
good profile.
Oh, my, the Golden Eagle. Lazat, who ran second in the Golden Eagle, is in the Group 1 Hong Kong Mile in 2 weeks' time. Like, this is the best form race. What was it? Eight Group 1 winners come out of last year's Golden Eagle.
Yep.
So, and go back, and if you haven't watched the run, I suggest you do, because it's easily a good enough run to win this. It draws well. It gets into that 53-kilogram benchmark that you're all talking about, and drops 4.5 kilos.
Can win.
Yep, at $18.
Unfortunately, though, Mart, you can't back them all.
No, so which way are you lining it up?
Zip away each way for me, and the roughies, I'd be inclined to have something on at their prices for a bit of fun and some exotic action. Magnificent Andy, Searching Rocks, and Tricks of the Trade. But, wow, what a race. Can't wait. So excited. Bradley?
Zip away with other money on Tricks of the Trade.
Are we all comfortable that Zip Away, and before you jump down my throat, is back to its really best after that autumn campaign when it wasn't?
Well, its first up run in Melbourne was sensational,
yeah.
I thought, and proved that it was up. And you go through those form lines and you see that Zip Away is a high-class horse, and I couldn't have been more impressed, really, with its run first up, I thought, with the run it had and how it was through the line. So, yeah, I'm happy, but...
Huge.
Opinions go?
Huge run first up.
And the big weight dropper.
Importantly.
I was a bit your way. I thought the barrier draw comes back into 10's almost perfect for it.
Stevie's got some options.
Yep. Okay, that is the Swan Draft Railway Stakes. Let's have a look at the final event of the day. The Drummond Golf, Wayne and the team out there at Drummond Golf do a fantastic job. And One Snow Princess 19. We'll go through the prices, and then I think we'll probably go to Northam for the second. Woburn Gold is $3. Keep Attacking $6.50 into $4.80. D'Amber is $13.14 into $9.50. Forever Dreaming $51. Comic Heroes into $8. Regal Statue $17. Define Beautiful $19 into $14. False Statement $126. King Akid is $19. Miss Flirtatious $10. One More Too Many is $23 from $34. And Playing Games $10 into $8.50.
Just a bit of a scratching there. Obviously, we went up at about 6 p.m. Wednesday night. Chilean was still in at that stage, Mart.
Mm-hmm.
Keep Attacking 1,000 at the 480. Back at the queue. Comic Hero 1,000 places at the $3. Woobs. 700 at the 320. 1,000 at the 290. 700 at the $3. 500 at the 290. Fair dinkum there. Lining up there. Keep Attacking 500 at the 550. Playing Games 300 at the $9. What else do we have? Miss Flirtatious, a couple of hundred there at the $10. They can go again.
Oh, they can, can't they, Bradley? They certainly can. Good finish to the day. Got to be Woburn, doesn't it, Mart?
You'd think so. Mac at his best.
Got to be Woburn.
Group 1 day, second day of the Pinnacles, he can really let down.
Yeah.
Shades of...
We might, if we haven't
Shades of Mortimer Mac.
If we haven't backed a winner by this stage, we might pin the ears back. Yeah, she's flying. Been dictated to by bad barriers, but her win last start just had to be seen to be believed. Where she settled in the run, she's drawn a plum alley here, third up. She's come back a better horse this time in. She can settle a lot closer in running here, and don't think that'll take away from her. Mart, she's shown previously she can win sitting, holding a position, sitting close handy to the speed. I think she takes the power of beating. Happy to be on her to round out the day and hopefully blast out in the last. Comic Hero, hammered in betting first up. Not suited drawing inside and wasn't allowed a flowing run into the race, but really hit the line well when clear, and much prefer him drawing out than in as a natural get-back type anyway. I think he's the big danger if Woburn Gold's perhaps off her game or she finds any bad luck in running, although she shouldn't. Dropping some weight off his back, Bradley, and I think you could mount a case for Define Beautiful running a massive race as well. Hit the line strongly last start on Cup Day behind My Aloha, who I thought was a good thing beaten in the Placid Arc on the weekend. Should have won by 3 lengths. And drops a whopping 5 kilos. 5 kilos here. She'll get a very soft run tracking up in behind them for Donga. And she's currently over my price at the moment at $14. Define Beautiful.
King of Keys, my little man in the last.
I love it. I love it when Mart throws one out.
That's where it ends up.
The shooter man. Shooter.
Yeah, shooter.
Shooter. What about you, Braddles?
Good race to watch.
You're
going to pin the ears back, but I doubt I'll have the physical ability to pin anything back at that stage.
Yeah, you'll be watching about 3 different screens at once.
Yeah.
You do say that a lot.
And yelling out.
Good race to watch.
I like watching races.
All right, let's get through these. Best bets on the program. Rylie Morgan up to the plate.
Wow. Here we go.
Earn your money today.
We have to wait a little while. Mart, best bets on the program for me. Race 6, Yonga Lass. Race 9, Woburn Gold. In the big one, Zip Away Each Way. Best roughies in the race, who I think are over the odds. Tricks of the Trade, Search and Rocks, Magnificent Andy. And to be honest, that'll just about do me, I think. Not overly enthused in the front half of day 2 of the Pinnacles. I think before that, it looks quite tricky.
160k jackpot, Mart.
Yeah, big. 4, 5, 6, 7.
WA tab only quaddie.
Yep.
The boss said he would buy me a go bucket for every time I mentioned it. So, race 1, Janny to win and Bow Talk each way at the big price. Race 2, Tony's Spirit at the 20s each way. Yep. Race 5, Demolish at the $8 plus, which I'm pretty sure it'll drift out to.
Yeah.
Race 7, Olympic Park and Street Band. Race 8, Zip Away and Tricks of the Trade.
Oh, yep.
Race 9, a Pimm's Cup.
A jug.
Pugger Jims.
I'd love to be able to back Sentimental Hero and Demolish in that race, both of them. Maybe we might see some funny stuff with the market late. Bradley.
Okay, well, there you have it. That's our big one, our big look.
We hope you enjoyed another stimulating episode of Straight Up. All betting markets supplied by Tab Touch. All care, no responsibility went into the production of today's podcast.